What's up, guys? We got a lot to talk about in this week's social media headlines. I want to start off with what is the most inevitable thing, the TikTok ban. As many of you may have seen, or if you haven't seen, Montana moves to ban TikTok entirely in the state. According to a new bill passed in Montana, or potentially going to be passed this year in Montana, it would ban TikTok as early as January 1, 2024. So you got a little bit of time here. And there's a lot of more mounting pressure as the geopolitical landscape gets crazier. You got China supporting Russia, at least it looks like that way. Tensions between Taiwan, as the U.S. goes to Taiwan and visits them, and just in general, over all tensions between the U.S. and China seem to be consistently getting more real. Security people in the government, such as, let's just see here, the director of the FBI has called for a full ban. The commissioner, as well as the commissioner of the FCC, along with various senators. It does feel like, unlike 2020, we're really going to put our foot down as things between U.S. and China get more real. I've been advising most of my clients now to de-invest in terms of follower growth type of advertisement on TikTok, but maybe continuing to do some video views or stuff that are more driving short-term business results. In addition to that, continue to post organically and all those other things, but there's a few things you can do to kind of arm yourself for the potential ban. I have, again, 800,000 followers on TikTok, so not looking for it to go anywhere. But the things that I'm doing are pinning a comment to every post saying, if you like this type of content, visit me on YouTube Shorts or Instagram. I'm making sure I'm pushing that. If you're a brand, you can run ads to people who engage with your profile, video viewers, with an ad just saying, even linking out to Instagram. So I would begin to be taking precautions here, and not that it's going to happen fast, and ByteDance could potentially just have a lawsuit going on and drag this out for a while. So I would be, another week in What the Fuck Social, so make sure that you're taking action here. And again, I would focus less on follower growth unless you just want to risk it into sort of the abyss here. I think there's a few things you could be doing. I do know what was interesting to me is that Lemonade, if you guys haven't been paying attention to that, another thing we got to talk about is ByteDance owns Lemonade, the news site. Actually, I was hearing a lot of people moving to Lemonade. I downloaded the app, posted a couple videos there as sort of an alternative to TikTok and the TikTok ban versus going to Reels or Instagram or YouTube Shorts. But what's interesting is that Lemonade app is actually owned by ByteDance. I totally missed that. And as I'm looking into it, it's just a way, what they're saying is, and what I've experienced is it's sort of a hybrid between, I would say, Instagram and Pinterest. It has a little bit more like niche and shopping-based aspects. And this is really an app that's focused on offering creators incentives to grow its audience on the platform. So, the app is hiring for roles in monetization, so they want to dive quickly into monetization. As that now becomes, I think, the primary vehicle for growth on all social networks is ad revenue share or versions of the creator fund. I don't think anybody can compete without it anymore. I think those days are gone. It's a great thing for the creator economy, tougher thing for these smaller startups as they're trying to figure out how to sort of balance the need for paying out creators, but making profit too. So a lot changing as usual in social media. So pay attention to Lemonade. Again, I'm downloading it. I do think the same thing you're going to get with Lemonade. Potentially, I have to do a little bit more digging here. Is that between TikTok? I think the reasons TikTok, the government considers it a threat is for all the things they probably know social networks can do. Turning on microphones. Diving into other things going on in your phone potentially, and I think that aspect of gaining secrets, gaining information, getting an edge. That's why it's already banned in government phones, right? So at the end of the day, nothing's leaking out that could potentially be a national security issue. So, Lemonade app I thought was going to be an alternative. So I'm less bullish on that now. I'd be a little bit more bearish on Lemonade. So just giving you guys that context as I learned it. Another thing we got to talk about is an article that came out in the New York Times just saying the future of social media is a lot less social. Facebook and Twitter seem to be increasingly connecting users with brands and influencers to restore a sense of community. Some users are trying smaller social networks. I think what's happened, and I would consider this as a backlash of the 2016 to maybe 2021 days where everyone was getting canceled and for anything you said. And people, I think, might be older generations were first coming on to a Facebook and getting caught in the political turmoil, and people were ruining their careers and ruining friendships by posting things on their page. I think as much as we want to know about vacations and certain things, there's other aspects that I think people want to just keep off social media. So instead of sharing news articles or sharing political opinions and all this other stuff, that is sort of moved into your smaller, more trusted group. And we've all known families getting ruined because of all the election talk and all that other stuff in the last few years. I think it became a place where people would just feel reaffirmed by the things they said online, and they would double down on their opinions within their normal friends group, and it was break, relationships and things got weird. I think we all started to see the world different as we started to add sort of the things we saw online to people that we met in real life. Oh, this person might follow this person, or this person might have voted for this person, and we start to sort of push ourselves away from people more. I think what you're seeing is a lot of the sharing is going to the people that you definitely trust, that you value their opinions, that you feel safe with. So into Messenger, into text chains, into private groups. Less sharing to news feeds, so all the random people in your ecosystem, high school friends and things like that, become could see that stuff and becomes a volatile situation. So you're sort of seeing the rebellion aspect of that versus where it was all about before, sharing your stuff to the feed to amplify, to sort of be part of the movement. And I think another thing that you're going to see within that social media is, a lot of people want to be more active and maybe supporting their businesses and personal brands or small businesses. But, the aspect that Facebook and Instagram particularly were built on the friends graph, it feels a little bit harder to post. There's a little bit of a self-doubt. There's a little bit of an insecurity with your friends and family seeing that content. So I think with the rise of TikTok and some of these other things like YouTube Shorts, where your content's more going into the For You page, right? It's going out to sort of random people, less about your followers, or you can start new on a platform that's not, bombarded with your friends. You're seeing that you're trying to find your community in different ways, right? So smaller groups, little Twitch followings, stuff like that, where you can sort of build a safe space online. I think it's trying to find that again versus the broader building just huge monster audiences. So I think while there's a little bit of a hybrid to that, I think for some people trying to build personal brands, I definitely think the smaller communities and having like a small business is the way that all of this is going. I consider where the internet's moving now is more, I think 1920 mom and pop businesses online, small communities where you can make $100,000 off of selling your own custom shirts versus trying to let everyone be the next Walmart. You can have a lot of people, small agencies, consulting, solopreneurs, freelancers. Everyone's trying to be more of a mom and pop, have your own business. And I think that's a great thing. I think that takes power away from the big companies, gives you freedom and a little bit of empowerment to have your own business, gives you some security or a side hustle to help supplement your income. And I think this is just a big part of that. And you're seeing more of the tools adopting that, and a lot of the networks trying to, like Facebook groups and chat apps, Discord, things like that coming out, where it's about smaller communities and pockets of people. So I thought this was interesting, sort of the world of social media. Apple is launching a high yield saving account. I can't believe I actually read this when I did. I do think it's a broader sign of when you hear like the Fed now and some of these other people, Twitter talking about getting into monetization. Google, I think, just launched a suite. I think I'll get into that later in this episode. A suite of like ways to purchase directly in Google now. It's about a lot less leaving the app and a lot more doing things within Google, within Facebook, within Twitter, within Instagram. They want you basically never to leave, and it becomes more that everything app. I think it's like a WeChat in China. At the end of the day, it's cutting out the middleman, so you can basically get more ad revenue and have more business as like things are evolving with ChatGPT. There's different ways that you can actually monetize. So Apple, again, is launching a high yield savings account that pays 4.15 APY. So again, you can make a little bit of money. Better than any savings account for sure. They can probably back that because they have so much cash, on hand. So it's just an easier way for them to double down. This is another way that they can become really the world's largest bank, is what I'm reading in one of these articles here. And it's definitely a big competitor to some of the largest financial institutions out there. So a couple other things about the saving things. It's done in partnership with Goldman Sachs. The rate is more than 10x the national average. There's no fees, no minimum deposits, and no minimum balance. Has slick UX UI, so it's just going to be a good customer experience. And an FDC for a max balance protection of $250K, which we all probably relearned about with the savings and bank crisis, going on right now. So of course, 4.51% is less than money market funds, and lower than 1% of the 3-month treasury bills yield of 5.21, but it's a great, safe, potentially alternative for people to put their money and make a little bit back. So I do like the move here. I think this is another way that Apple is, if you haven't used Apple Pay or have a card, this is just another way that they can incorporate themselves into sort of your finances, and I kind of love this. I don't know if I've been using Apple Pay more and more. It's just a very convenient way to kind of check out places, and I think it's an incredible move. And I think there's a lot going on in the financial world. This isn't really my area of expertise, but if you've heard the news on the Fed now, you're going to start to see, I think, credit cards and some other people getting a little scared as bigger players are coming into the pot, and more sort of more access to your money and transactions are going to happen in different ways moving forward. Again, in another presentation, Garyvee doubled down again for small businesses, personal brands, that Facebook Reels is just a massive opportunity. I think I would echo that. I've seen great stuff still on Instagram Reels in terms of getting out beyond your following. Think TikTok 2020 right now, where it's a lot easier to get there. There's just not enough supply in Reels right now. I think you're just sort of early on Facebook. People just aren't using that as much. You're seeing brands pull back as they're trying to figure out the attribution of Facebook. So there's a huge opportunity for inventory in Reels as they're trying to get people to adopt it. And they're just, again, supply and demand with creators just not posting there. Again, I think this is due to Facebook's just notoriously shitty organic reach that's been there since 2015, 2016. Most people didn't even consider it even part of their marketing mix anymore. They were more focused on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube as a places to grow organically. But now Facebook's get back in the mix. Gary again has said Facebook fan pages and Reels are seeing significant growth again for the first time in a long time. Again, Instagram Reels is not going anywhere. I would continue to post there. And I think as they get, we'll talk about this in the next section, as Reels really on Facebook and Instagram gets back to the monetization and ad rev split, I think you're going to see a lot more activity there. And this really could be the thing with the ban that kills TikTok. Even though we don't want it to go, it's still, to me, the best app in terms of entertainment and value right now. These are very real alternatives. So it is 420. Happy 420 to you guys out there. It's a big day for Elon Musk. I think there's a SpaceX launch today, as well as on 420, and you guys probably have heard the news on Twitter. They're removing legacy verified check marks to remain on Twitter. Individuals can sign up at Twitter Blue. It's a huge push for Elon, basically trying to get all these major celebrities and writers and government people to pay him $15 or $8, pay $8 a month. I actually am on Twitter Blue. So it's going to be quite the day. We're going to see if there's any turmoil out there. You've already seen recently NPR and a few other news organizations saying they're going to jump off the platform because Elon put like government funded or up to 75% government funded to sort of have that transparency so people know where they could potentially be biased with their opinion, even though they're claiming independence and they probably have a lot of that really going on. There's probably some sort of connection as they're getting most of their funding or partial funding from the government. And I think this just goes back to the backlash of everything you've seen on Twitter with, the Twitter files, where the government's basically working with Twitter to ban people, to move messaging. And I think at the end of the day, what people want and have lost is a lot of trust of these major organizations. They're owned by billionaires, or they're owned by the government, and they felt agenda-based and they felt biased on each side. And I think what at least Elon's attempting to do is to have that transparency, to force their hand a little bit. And interesting that NPR, BBC, I think, is another one that just basically said they're not going to post there and go to these other places. I totally get that. It's sort of their power move against Elon. But I do think there's some aspects of like us knowing that and having more transparency. I think we all love to say the good old days of the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, when we were sort of blind to the fact of this propaganda. But I think it's good to know, and we can make a decision for the media that we consume and the people that we think we can trust. So it's a difficult day, and I think we're sort of going through this transition to like all these major conglomerates. How do we get more authentic and transparency, which is what we all really want, and where can we find that source of the truth? I think what Elon's trying to do is say we're going to be that source of truth with these moves. In addition to this Twitter Blue move, as I'm a Twitter Blue user, I've said I have had a great experience. I think the For You page on my Twitter Blue has been a little bit like heavy on the type of content I like. I'm almost seeing too much of it because I like to sort of catch other niches and news in there. So I've been trying to figure out the balance between For You and following. The one thing I would add to this, though, is I think this is a good move for brands to pay $8. And while it helps support Twitter, I do think you're seeing Facebook thinks it's a good move already, right? They're doing the Twitter, they're doing the verification check marks. I think that they should have done this in the beginning, and they should have charged for it and gave benefits to the brand. I've been saying this since day one. I like that aspect that Twitter's doing this now. It's going to be interesting. I don't know why you wouldn't if you can afford $8 and you're a major corporation or a brand. This is the hardest thing to do, is to get yourself verified on most of these channels. So I would go right into it, lean into it. It's just a new day. You're going to get much added benefit. If you're a normal person, and you're not interested in this, you're just there passively to consume, no need to pay $8. This is for the power user. I've been saying it for a while. This is for the business, the brand, the people that need the tool to grow. You should be paying $8. You get too much added benefits, especially in Twitter, where they're saying you get, up in the comments, you get more sort of access to the For You page and yada yada. To me, this is a no-brainer. $8. What are you doing? Pay that thing. That's it for this week's What the F social media. If you learned anything, please like and subscribe. Share any of these micro content or any pieces of this as I post these sort of short clips after the full episode. Share them with your friends and family if they're interested in learning more about social media, and follow me on YouTube or other social media platforms. Appreciate it.